Batman with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There's no verses here, guys. The books, authors, and painters, I'll let Minnie, since she's got it in her hands.
It is in my hands. All right. This is. Why does everyone gotta have names and no pronunciation guides? This is James Tynion the Fourth, Tynion. Don't know how to pronounce that. Freddie E. Williams the Second, Jeremy Caldwell, and that's who does the first one. There's three of
Yeah,
these.
the first volume of Batman and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And since Batman is in the front, you can usually find this book under the DC labeling and usually in the DC section. Um, I know it's a collaboration with probably IDW, but it is under the flagship of being a DC title.
Also, B comes before T. And
This
so
is
does
true.
D come before I. Such is the way of the alphabet.
And we'll be talking about the first part because we believe that this book more closely syncs with the movie that came out. And we recently watched the movie. We're like a week out from having watched it. And like our second time, for me, the fourth time, watching the collaboration between Batman and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I think it was a straight to DVD release at the time, and it's really really good.
It was really good. It didn't make me fall asleep the second time. That's nothing to do with the entertainment value of any Turtle franchise visual media, visual and audio media. That's just because Turtles somehow, they're just really soporific. I get so sleepy.
She gets so relaxed when she's watching Turtles. Turtles are her drug of choice to calm down. Um, so there are key differences, and we want to talk about those for a bit because I'm sure like people out there have already summarized the movies, and you can find the movie especially easily. And I believe that the comic books did well, especially if they promoted a movie, the production of a movie. So
And there's
they're
three
available
volumes of
out
this
there.
thing.
3 whole volumes. I'm pretty sure there might be an omnibus in the future if you don't want to spend money on 3 separate volumes and you just want to get one whole total. I would look into that. If it doesn't exist, it will. The turtles eventually get omnibuses. Will those omnibuses or giant collection, entire collection, cost a lot? Maybe. So,
Definitely.
if you want to save, I'd do it now. um, in fact, I've got to get an omnibus or collection. So I've got to get a collection of the 2012's Little Adventure series that came out. It's more PG rated, but it's very fun and has some cute moments. And I don't have all the books, so I'm thinking like of giving my additional books to family and just getting the omnibus. Uh, but to start off, just to say something about the art, which I like to say, it's grimy. It's the art style is more generalist as it talks about, well, as it like reads for the turtles and Batman himself. Excuse me, there's a cat in my lap. If I sound a little distracted, it's a little grimy, it's a little gritty. They love the use of blacks and dynamic lighting and shadows and sort of like a fog light situation.
It's a Batman comic.
It is definitely a Batman comic. Though, like I said, they're very generous versions, but also this Batman has flavors of all the Batmans, including like even movie, especially the Nolan Batman. It's got like references to like Nolan verse stuff happening. For the turtles themselves, it's more it's kind of flavored IDW, but without any of the mysticism. There's no mysticism. They're very generalist. Think like '90s turtles. Think like uh 2003 before season 5. um or actually is it like before season 3? um so we start off, the key difference is how the movie introduces the whole plot and how the comic book, though the situation is the same. There's a MacGuffin device, um, that the Foot Clan is trying to steal. And during that, in the movie, Batgirl situates herself in there, but in order to be intel to Batman that something is kicking off in his city. Whereas in the comic, there is no Batgirl situation. It's more like Batman happened to be investigating on the beat and was notified of the situation by finding one of the surviving doctors or scientists, my bad, who was involved.
I mean, they probably had a doctor that makes them a doctor.
Yes, that's true. Excuse me, random lady. You earned that PhD. I'm sorry. Um, also in this, instead of well, in both of the movie and the comic, Damian Wayne is the current Robin, which is the more modern current verse, current going around, because they've aged out everybody else, and plus Damian is also like confirmed canonically right now Bruce's biological child. And that's like a general thing that's definitely really big in the current universe of Batman. They're not quite treading the water by doing a Spider-Man and trying to reinvent his previous relationships over and over. They're trying to evolve them, which is always neat. I don't keep up on Batman stuff in general, but I do. Me and Minnie surprisingly know a lot about Batman, despite not keeping up on Batman.
You hear things.
Yeah. So in the story too, so in the movie there is no Splinter. The turtles. There's a huge difference in the layout of the movie and the comic,
Yeah.
and it involves universes.
Yeah. See, in the movie, they just like came over to Gotham from New York.
Yeah, somehow, like they were always aware, and it's
Yeah. It's
a
not.
thing.
It's not like outright stated, "Hey, we all live in the same universe." They just came, but they're like, "We came here from New York," and there's
Like
no
a vacation.
Yeah. Well, not on a vacation.
Well,
They were
Mikey
chasing
treated
Shredder.
it. Yeah, that's
Mikey
true.
treats everything like a vacation.
Yeah. But yeah, whereas in the comic, it's very much a dimension slash universe situation. Like, I wouldn't even say a dimension because they're not even the part of the same universe. This universe, the DC universe, the Batman universe, is actively hostile against the TMNT family.
It's actively hostile against the goo, technically.
This is
Anything
true.
that is turned in the when you use the mutagen,
Mutagen does not exist in this universe, so therefore the universe wants to get rid of it.
it just wants, it's like you've connected two things and it wants to pull you back to your basic parts.
And I feel like that implies in the DC universe, even though they have aliens, that means that no alien there is like Krang. There are no Krangs in the DC universe.
the
Therefore,
DC
there is no
universe
ooze.
So was like, how do we keep the Krang out of our shit? And that was how.
So, and Splinter is a way like heavily featured. He's a key member, a key role in the story. He is active. He's still his ancient sage self, but also he the teacher role is very apparent, and not only to the turtles but also to Batman. He takes on a sort of like, with Alfred, like a father figure, just sitting in the rings and making sure that the ship is flying right. he doesn't have to be in the front, but he's like definitely steering a bit, or at least talking to someone who's steering.
Splinter will see a maladjusted orphan and go, is anyone going to adopt that?
So essentially, Splinter and the Turtles were sucked into the DC universe during villain shenanigans. Um, Namely, Shredder being an opportunist and seeing, oh, this is a universe where there's no turtles. I could totally go there. And like while he was doing his shenanigans, of course the turtles tried to stop him, and they got kind of blown into the universe. And they set up like a little mini layer and was trying to and they were trying to figure out what Shredder's plans were so that they could stop them, but they weren't aware of the ticking time bomb.
In the comic.
Yeah. So in the comic, there's a sense of urgency because, like we said, the universe does not like a key aspect of them, like something that makes them them, and is trying to essentially kill their sentience and therefore kill them. I mean, sure, if the universe got its way, they'd be four turtles and a rat, but would they be Leonardo, Michelangelo, Raphael, Donatello, and Splinter? No.
It depends on what you believe about souls and brains.
We'll
It's
get
up
into
for
that
debate.
in IDW. But for here, that is a question. Like, if everything that you are essentially is gone, but your body remains and can still function, are you you? And the comic brings this up a lot because for them, that is death. As the clock is ticking and as things go, if things go wrong, I remember one panel where Mikey has this really sad face and he's looking at Donnie and he says, "Are we gonna die?" And Donnie doesn't say anything.
Don't worry about it. That's a tomorrow problem.
Please worry about it because I don't want you to die.
That's a tomorrow problem.
Okay. But to go on to a lighter note, in the beginning of the whole thing, while Batman's doing the beats, trying to figure out what's going down in his city that he wasn't aware of until now, like I said, the TMNT family had temporarily set up a sort of mini layer in the sewers of Gotham, and Killer Croc, who makes an intro in the comic but not in the movie. He is not in the movie. The one who's already coming oddly shaped, not in the movie, but he makes an intro with a group of thugs. He's not a part of any like grand plan or anything. He's just like hiding out in the sewers because he's Killer Croc. Where the hell else he's gonna go? He's a giant croc man. Actually, I thought he was a circus guy, and then I'm not really sure what his current deal is.
I don't know, but he was in the sewers because they were trying to steal the Batmobile. that,
Now, people have tried to steal the Batmobile.
that was their
It's never a great idea. I think the only one who succeeded was Jason Todd.
Yeah.
That got him a job, but did it get him a good job? People can argue. That's probably not great that he ended up being a Robin.
Meh.
So Killer Croc and his goons sort of ruin this temporary sewer layer. And also Mikey's good times playing some kind of pony racer game.
Death Laser Pony Racers.
I mean, it rhymes, but is it as good as Mario Kart? One has to argue.
It's gotta be. It depends. If it was like, it sounds like it would be like Twisted Metal Mario Kart.
Actually, I think there's
Which
a market
sounds
for
dope.
that.
Yeah, that sounds dope.
Okay, well, never mind. All right, Mikey's right then. I'd be pissed too. Especially if they're in a new universe, we probably had to get used to, like, is the currency the same? Is the rates the same?
Are they? But there's no way they're buying their stuff.
Well, sometimes they do. It depends on how heroic the turtles want to be or how kid-friendly they want to be. They try to slip $1 in or two. they don't have jobs, people. It's okay that they steal. They need it. But, you know, you can't show that in their more TG rated.
They're just freakins.
Oh, and also in Rise, Donnie's definitely stealing.
Oh yeah, Donnie's definitely
Donnie
stealing
is
in Rise.
stealing.
Like
Donnie actively steals during the show. He stole Mikey's money.
like in some of them you can like argue that it's not stealing because they're just getting it out of the dumpster, and humans throw away a ton of stuff.
Yeah, when they're reusing things, yeah.
Including perfectly serviceable computers, games, TVs. Those.
Oh
things
yeah,
work.
in 2003 they are dumpster driving constantly.
Yeah, like I said, they're freakins. That's called being a freakin these days.
But for other shows where they just mysteriously have like new items that Donnie hasn't fixed, they gotta be stealing those. Come on, folks. Who's
Not
that?
necessarily. Like
It's
I said, like you'll throw away whole stocks.
Rise
sometimes.
definitely. They stole
but
all
Rise
that
Donnie
shit.
is definitely like, there's no.
Even while they were saying they were broke, Rise Donnie had a wad of cash. He was like, "Yeah, sure, we're so broke."
Yeah, because you know his brothers are like, no, we can't steal, and he's just up there like, they don't need it.
Donnie wasn't even mad. Well, this is a conversation for Rise later, but I will mention that Donnie wasn't mad when that one group he wanted to join was stealing technology. He was mad that they stole his technology.
Yeah,
Key difference.
it doesn't count when you're stealing from a corporation.
So, to go back to the movie, there's no grand show-off fight between Bats and Shredder when they first meet, though the killing of a random foot ninja who was about to inform Batman of Shredder's plans is still the same. He still gets a kunai to the head, or a shuriken, or something like that. But in that, Shredder decided... Well, one, Shredder's not, he doesn't have, like, a MacGuffin mystic ability at the end that would match him with Batman in that moment. So
It's
we don't
also,
need a
like,
fight.
Why bother fighting when I can just leave?
I mean, that's a very ninja thing.
Like, unless you're forced to fight, there's no point in fighting. Because that's not his goal right now. He has nothing to do with Batman. It's not like he'll fight the Turtles because he has a vendetta.
Yeah, this was a mess up. I bet he would have loved to have not notified any of the DC heroes of his existence at all. Like a real ninja.
Yeah,
But
that definitely...
he slipped up.
Yeah. And that made Raish mad. Also, like in the movie, everyone uses every single pronunciation of Ra's al Ghul.
I mean,
No one keeps...
I've never once shortened his name. Ra's al Ghul has to be
No,
Ra's al
yeah,
Ghul.
they say Ra's al Ghul, but they also say, what's the other pronunciation where it's that there's Ra's al Ghul or Ra's al Ghul?
Oh, yeah. You could say either one to me. I don't
Yeah,
care.
you can say either one, but because there's no, like... I looked it up, like,
This
months
character
ago.
was made by a white man. There's no
Yeah.
true
And then there's, like,
pronunciation.
There's, like, how it probably would be pronounced in the language, and then there's how they pronounced it because they were white men.
Yeah. So no grand intro fight. So in the movie there was like an intro fight to show how Shredder would match up against Batman and how he could be a potentially problem, and they gave him like an ultimate move that was sort of ninjutsu mysticism at the end to match Batman, of course, because Batman has so many gadgets and willpower and stuff, and just to show that these two humans are combative in a way that could be an issue, I think.
I'm trying to figure out if, like, the movie was more of we're introducing the Turtles to Batman people. Whereas the comic is like, you know who both of these things are. You know what both of these things are. I don't have to explain anything to you.
That's very true, probably. I believe it was in-house by Warner Brothers, and they are the Batman guys.
Yeah, so
The bad guys.
I think that's a lot of the differences in the movie versus the comic is I don't want to have to explain Master Splinter to a bunch of people who don't know who the Turtles are.
And that is a crazy thought, because I've never met anyone in the globe who doesn't know who the Turtles are. But I guess they were just covering bases.
Yeah, or it's like, I don't want to have to explain that this is their dad, but also not, I don't want to have to explain that. I heard there's turtles, They became that way via a goo. They come from New York. They like pizza.
I
And
got
they're
people
here.
in Japan right now petitioning for more dubs of turtle stuff because they're tired of having to listen to English.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, the movie was definitely more of a, you're familiar enough with the turtles to be watching this, but you're more Batman than it is turtles.
So, so after that, the intro fight between the turtles and the Batman still happens, but it has a different finisher because Master Splinter's involved. And when Master Splinter's involved, there's not going to be a continual ass kicking of his children. They're
No,
just not going to be.
Master Splinter's not like, was this alert? Master Splinter's usually like, this is a learning opportunity for everybody else.
But yeah, Mr. Splinter puts a stop to that. I also think there's a moment that exists in both. I think it must have been a key moment for the animators in the movie where Leonardo, he does not cut bases. He doesn't say, what the shell. He says, back the hell away from my brothers. And he says it in the comic and he says it in the movie. And it's a very prominent moment. And the voice actor did a great job because it was definitely in the tone of, if you don't step off, I'm about to use these blades. And it's going to be real serious. And I thought that was really cute. And I love their turn of phrase, their turtle phrases for curse words that they use in the shows. But I also love it when occasionally the turtles just drop all pretenses, like in the 90s movie where Raph kept saying damn. And now Leo's, I guess, choice word is hell. And I believe in the live action movies, Michelangelo said bitchin', but I think he was only using that in the terms of really cool.
In the terms of 80s and 90s.
Yeah. Donnie was, I will say, probably Nike and Donnie
You
were my
know, I
favorites
was
in those
like,
movies.
what else could that word mean? And then I remembered another definition that exists, and now I wish didn't know that definition.
I don't know if we should share that definition.
We're not
if you don't
sharing it.
want to. They kind of escape the moment. So while Splinter ends that moment before any serious harm can come to anybody, and to stop, the ass kicking of his children, they smoke bomb away. And that's something that Donnie does for them in the movie. They basically were getting their ass kicked, and Donnie was all like, well, I'm calling this, and does the smoke bomb and gets them out of there. And once again, Splinter and Donnie do the same roles for each other in the. So Donnie takes on the role of Splinter in the movie, calling the fight, ending, explaining things, whereas Splinter in the comic does these things. And then the TMNT family end up staying in an arcade while trying to figure out their situation. And while in the arcade, the boys are sort of arguing amongst themselves. Uh, Mikey is drawing a diagram going how cool the Batman is, but during that diagram, he's not drawing his cute little drawings. Like, it was a diagram, and I missed the drawings.
It has a cute little bat face.
Whoever the animator is in the movie, you got my thumbs up for that scene. Though it is a good talk, and Leo does mention, like, where's their dad? So we see in later panels that Splinter is sneaking after Batman and essentially finds out a lot of things, like Batman is Bruce Wayne, the Nolan verse inclusion of the Morgan Freeman character, who is kind of that super smart guy who invented the surveillance tech.
Lucius Fox.
Thank you, Lucius Fox. I always just remember it was Morgan Freeman. Who I believe, has taken, ever since that movie, that character.
He's been in a lot of stuff.
He's been in a lot of stuff.
He's in Lego, he's in other things.
He really made an impression on the Batman verse.
He's the R&D guy.
Yeah, I think he'd be like the modern equivalent to a Harley Quinn. Like,
R&D,
they came from one thing and then they sort of just.
And then sometimes has his own, and sometimes has his own, like, Fox Industries or whatever.
Yeah. So in the movie, the first and non-adjacent villain that they introduce, who isn't a part of the subplot, was Penguin. That's different in the comic. So the comic was Killer Croc, and he had nothing to do with anything. But
Penguin, yeah, in the movie he
yeah,
didn't, at
he
first,
didn't.
didn't have
Yeah,
anything to do
he
with
was just
anything.
doing his own stuff,
Yeah.
and he was sort of like
And
the
then
intro moment for the
yeah,
turtles.
got hired later. But he does get hired in both by Shredder.
He didn't get hired in the movie. He didn't come back.
Hmm.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, because he was at the beginning when the turtles fought him, and then he was the one who found.
Oh yeah. Okay,
Wait,
so he briefly got.
Raish hired him.
You're right.
Raish was the second. He was like, "You can't do it, Shredder, so I'm gonna hire someone who can." And Penguin is the one who found the MacGuffin.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. But then he like pieces out. In this, he gets involved in the final arc. But okay, so Penguin works for the Shredder essentially. The Shredder who entered this universe was sort of working for himself, and then ended up being recruited. I'm going to say in quotes by Ra's al Ghul / Ra's al Ghul, the sort of assassin ninja superpower of the DC universe, especially in relation to Batman.
The League.
Yes. That is his term for his, like, arguably much more menacing than the Foot, but they do similar things. Just
Yeah.
one has, like, a really cool Lazarus pit.
Yeah, I was gonna say one has the Lazarus pit, which
In the movie, that's what he was sort of bargaining chip with Shredder.
that's what
In
he
the
was
comic, he doesn't have to use anything to bargain with him, I don't believe.
in the comic. I don't.
Yeah, I think he just sort of tells him, "You're working for me now."
Yeah, I think Shredder escapes, and then
He gets in a hot
Raish is there to. I think in
to
the
pick him up and be
Yeah.
all like, "You work for me now."
yeah. Whereas in the movie, it was you've been working with me.
Yeah. And then this is during the sneaky shenanigans of Splinter, and not shenanigans, the sneaky in subterfuge, following him and spying and blah blah blah. They find out about how the universe is affecting them, and how it's essentially killing them, and how Shredder's okay with that.
Yeah.
He's not gonna change because he's always been who he
Yeah,
is.
he's just a regular.
He's not worried about anybody he's traveling with or anything. He doesn't care about anybody else. And this is actually great for him. He's all like, "Oh, sweet. Well, I just want to meet them one last time before the light in their eyes goes out. I want them to know it was me. You know, the Game of Thrones scene with the old lady. I want them to know it was me." So that's basically the only reason why he's all like, if the turtles find us, that's fine, because, they're not going to get out of here.
Yeah, it's all I just got to do is make them not be a problem long enough until they're not a problem permanently.
Yeah. So there's a definite time limit, and the time limit is ticking for everyone. Though in some people's cases, they love that time limit. They're cheering for it. They're all like, "Come on, keep ticking." And that's Shredder. So it's Splinter in the comic and then Donnie in the movie, and they both find the Batcave. The ways that they find it is pretty cute, because I feel like Splinter isn't a good swimmer. Like, rats aren't bad swimmers, but they're not known for it. They can do, like, rats can do a lot of amazing things, so they'll be fine. But in the comic, they sort of have to climb a whole bunch of cave systems. In the movie, they swim there because, as the turtles state frequently, they are amphibious. If I had a bingo card for the times they mention they're amphibious. So they're like making it to the Batcave. There's still like a very cute moment where they're like oohing and eyeing. Though Raph is taking the approach of being very antagonistic, because to him, he sees all the gadgets, he sees all this stuff, and he thinks, "Who is this fucking nutcase?"
It was more in the comics. He in the comics, in the movie, he was like, "This is clearly a rich guy."
Yeah, in the movie, he was just like, oh, it's just a rich guy. What is he now? But it wasn't as antagonistic as the comic. Like the comic, Raph is just pissed.
Raph and his brothers are gonna die in like
I
3 days,
mean,
so he's like, "I
this was
don't."
information they were only recently told
Yeah,
about. But in
he's
general,
like,
he was ready to be hating on somebody.
he's like, "Look, I don't have time for a rich boy and his fetishes." Okay, who thinks, okay, he and Casey are like, "No, you can't do this. You're not poor enough. You, you don't know. You can't just be over here fighting crime like you don't understand the people who are fighting crime."
And then, and he's also a little heated because in both of their intro fights, the Bats does take his side.
Yeah, he took his
and
stuff.
did tase him.
Yeah, he took his stuff. He beat up his brothers. He
Said,
he's
"Don't
getting in
tase
their
me,
way.
bro," and he still tased him.
Yeah, he's getting in their way. He's this rich white boy who's just doing stuff, and he's like, "No, absolutely not."
So when they get there, though, there's an opportunity where, kind of a little off screen for the comic, where they learn of their situation and they collaborate, and Splinter makes it known that he knows some secrets, but he also knows what's really happening. So I have information that you need so that I can help me and my family get out of this situation and also save your city.
Also, yeah, let it be known.
Oh, and Alfred shows up and
With
was
the
about to
shotgun.
blast
Yes.
everybody.
I was going to say, let it be known. Alfred, once again, is like, you don't have a problem fighting, shooting nobody, but I have a shotgun and I'm going to use it, Mr. Wayne.
Yeah. So there's a big middle climax fight involving the Shredder's forces, a current like transportation device that he was using to get his forces, and the Batman, Splinter, and the boys all fight. During this huge fight, the machine, the mechanism, is destroyed. Which works out for Shredder. He didn't really care. He was just trying to get his whole like gang together. And then Raph gets badly hurt, trying to retaliate after that. So they have to stop fighting. And this is the moment where Shredder gets quote unquote recruited by the League.
Yes, because, yeah, I don't think, yeah, I guess it wouldn't have been that, I don't say graphic in terms of, because he gets on the helicopter and Ray's just like,
he's killed all his.
Yeah, Ray's just like, sorry, I think you think that the people whose throats we slit 30 minutes ago are still in control of this vehicle, and that is not true.
Yeah, that's not true. We have replaced your drivers.
You're trapped here with me now. We're in the air. You're
in my universe, and you think you can come up here and have your own ninja league?
You think you can fight my son-in-law?
Ruin my relationship with my son-in-law / well, he's not really son-in-law.
He's not really son-in-law.
His detective.
Yeah, and he's like, my grandson's father.
Yeah, my grandson's father.
Whom I want to do.
Through sometimes very heinous means. We also get sort of an intro to Arkham Asylum situation, with a very harried, unnamed doctor. Or maybe she was named, but I can't remember. Going through like the rigmarole of trying to control the inmates.
Yeah, because they kept capturing Foot Clan guys, and then she's like,
yeah, and they're
she's
Foot
like, what's
Clan
your
guys.
name? And he's like, I am of the Foot. I have no name. And she's like, okay, I know, but I need a name for the records, please. Please just give me. And she's like, oh, please.
Yeah, they decided not to put the Foot in the general prison population.
They're claiming they're clearly part of a cult. They belong in Arkham Asylum.
Look, we all know that you have to be careful in Gotham. You might as well throw them in the asylum.
Well, also, the way they're speaking, hey, what's your name? I have no name, officer. I am of the Foot. You go to Arkham, you're in a cult.
And that's not something that happened in the movie. When they introduce Arkham, it's more like this is the distraction ploy that is a part of Ra's al Ghul's overall plan to keep the Batman off of them.
Ah, Dr. Zahir.
Oh, Dr. Zahir, that's really nice. Um, and then during that moment, Raph is pissed. He's hurt. He's had to deal with a situation he's not okay with. They are dying. And though there is some touching moments between the Bat and the boys and Splinter at this moment, Raph is just becoming continually disgruntled. Because,
Also,
the clock is ticking and he's feeling it.
in the movie, they have now introduced, when they break in, that's when they
Yeah.
introduce Damien.
Damien's doing his own thing
But they
for a good chunk of the beginning of this comic.
Yeah, yeah.
He's running around. He's figuring out that his grandpa's in town, but I guess he doesn't have to check in. I guess he doesn't have I guess Batman's all like, he doesn't have to come in during the street lights because why would that make any sense? I just eventually come home. I don't know. It's very loose, but that just shows like the awkwardness of the relationship right now, which the comic does bring up, and how the turtles are like, you could be a little more dad and a little less, bat and protege. um. And something like Leo says yes sir to Batman, and it really pisses off Raph, and he's like, sir, we don't know this guy.
Oops, not this mofo.
And Leo's just all like, well, he's an older man, and you're acting like we weren't raised with some kind of
You're
decorum.
acting like we weren't raised with manners.
And Raph is like just getting worked up. Also, Casey Jones pops up in a secondary machine that the Shredder had made so he can continue to get his forces. But April and I believe one of the scientist's friends, and I think it's the 90 Movies guy, and I can't remember his name, is helping April and Casey to figure out where they was and to figure out where the turtles went. And of course, Casey volunteered to be the guinea pig.
Yeah, because they're like, if you don't come back, you will die.
Yeah. And because, those are his brothers, and he's going to jump into weird portals because they need him. And also, there might be a fight on the other side, and Casey's totally down for that.
Yeah.
And he gets into a huge fight that's kind of like off in the distance. That we can't really see.
When he portals in, because he's not in
He's
not in the movies.
Yeah, he's not in the movies at all. Casey and April are not mentioned.
Yeah, Shredder had...
Like, Splinter gets mentioned,
Yeah.
but Casey and April
Yeah.
do not get mentioned in the movie.
Shredder had kidnapped a scientist so he could build portals, right? Well, whereas he had Baxter Stockman in
Yes,
the movies.
Baxter Stockman was in the movie because there was no time limit. There was nothing that was affecting mutagen. And he was Fly Baxter Stockman.
Yeah.
So he's a freak of nature. He ain't got nowhere to go, but he also isn't dying, so you can totally use him.
Yeah, Casey portals in Shredder's base and breaks out because he's Casey Jones.
Yeah. And considering, like, we've established from the Shredder himself, we don't need mutagen to be very capable human beings. So Casey himself won't be affected or anything. There are some comics where just being in the vicinity of the turtles affects you because they sort of radiate what they essentially are infected with.
Yeah. And Casey came with a stock of mutagens to help in case they couldn't get them back or they were injured or something that way, because they knew that they were going to disintegrate, essentially.
They get that the scientists figured out what's going to happen, and they sent them a supply so that they would have time to get them back.
But because he teleported into
Yeah,
Shredder's
the
base.
bad guys.
Casey gets away because he's like, I
He
have.
gets in a huge fight. His mutagen gets snatched.
Yeah, and that's how they get a hold of more mutagen in the comic.
And also during this moment, Raph, who went off the rails in his typical Raphdom, is all like, fuck all you guys, and he walks off in the rain. And Batman goes, well, I have to fix this. This
Yeah.
isn't the first awkward time that someone's
This
disliked
isn't
me.
the first time a teenager has. I've gotten into a fight with a combative teenager who doesn't like authority.
Actually, Batman is all like, this I can do.
Yeah,
I can fix this.
Yeah, I know how to handle this. I've had sons.
Yeah, it's all good.
Don't forget to mention the broody trench coat.
Yeah, he found a trench coat. He found a fedora. Very 90s.
All the characters have their brooding trench coat. If you're gonna go off and brood,
the trench coat is just a turtle staple.
yes, but they tend to show it a lot more when you're off and brooding. Okay?
When they're walking around, it's less of a disguise and more of a moment to just show that, this is the quiet time.
There are two types of trench coat: the brooding trench coat, and
these are 4 turtles in a trench coat trying to get into this movie theater trench coat.
yeah. Well, I was gonna say the spy trench coat. Where, like, the incognito.
They've never
trench
used
coat.
it well. They just sort of do it.
Yeah, and you can tell the difference because you look less like you're going to get clocked as someone who's doing something in the brooding trench coat as opposed to the incognito trench coat.
And during this sad moment, Batman explains to Raphael that he's not just some rich white guy doing this for no reason because it's fun.
Oh yeah,
it literally affected his life.
He takes him to Crime Alley and is like, "This is where my parents died."
Yeah, the moment he never lets go of. The moment, like, canonically, he cannot stop thinking about. The moment that the movies never stop talking about.
Yeah, and that's when Raph is like, "I see, you are a family man. We're gonna get along great."
Raph realizes that, he's not coming from a place of, I just enjoy fighting, so I'm just going to do it. Like, even though Raph consistently does that. But it's like a life that he couldn't, like, Raph doesn't have any options, and that really pisses him off that this guy has options.
Well, it's also like, first of all, Raph's dad is like, we fight injustice. That is what we are. Yeah. And also, you're a minority. So you got to do what the cops can't do and won't do. That's what we are.
And whereas Batman has a lot of options. He could be using his money to do philanthropy. Yeah. He could be doing more donations. He could be funding projects.
Whereas
he could be,
from the outside
there's a whole shit. Like, there's a lot of things that, if you look outside and go, you could be doing that. I mean, the Batman in DC Universe does a lot of great things. Mm-hmm. And he is a helpful form of good that exists in the DC universe.
It's just Gotham is literally cursed.
Gotham is literally cursed. Because the law is corrupt. Like,
it's not
fundamentally, their government.
In some comics, Gotham is literally cursed, and that's why it.
That's true too.
It can't get better because it is literally cursed.
That is true, and that the structure of the government, especially in the quote unquote USA of the DC.
But it's also like a get out of jail free card for Batman, because no matter what Bruce Wayne does, he literally cannot fix Gotham because it is literally cursed.
Yeah. So there is a curse aspect there, but there's also media where it's just rotten down to the core.
Yeah.
Everything is just rotten down to the core, and there are good people trying to work really, really hard to change that. But systematically, which you try to explain this to people in this modern world, systematically, it is rotten to the core. You can't fix this because it has to be broken down.
But it's the give a mouse a cookie type of fixing, where it's like, in order to fix this, I have to do this. In order to fix this that, I have to do this other thing, and then that thing, and like, but then it cycles back in on itself, and there's no good like.
It's just something that it's gonna be a never-ending fight because. There's just, from the laws to the people who enforce them to just the everyday people who just allow it to keep happening. It's just crazy.
Yeah. That's the curse of life. and capitalism.
And then the turtles on the side of this sad moment save Casey from inevitably, like sooner or later, he was going to get killed if he didn't get help. Save Casey, and then
Race and Shredder roll up on Arkham with some mutagen.
yes, they use their plan B. Well, they use their distraction tactic.
That's their plan D.
Yeah. It's not immediately what they go to, like in the movie. The movie, they immediately go to that plan because they want to distract Batman from the whole situation. Mm-hmm. And honestly, it gives them time to do their shenanigans. So, in a way, it worked. It just didn't work well enough to keep him from coming up on their actual plan. And then, sadly, Leo is the first to start to collapse from the universe degradation, I'm gonna call it. And he's going down, and he's mumbling, and he can't like get his words together, and it's very sad. And Batman has to like princess carry him. It's very, I'm just all like, no, let Leo. So Leo's going down first.
I forgot. In the comics, Batman did not tell Damian, nor did he tell the Turtles. He didn't tell them about each other.
Yeah, that's one of the key moments that let you know that, he's not even informing the child of major things that are happening with him, which is not great.
Yeah, Damian rolls up and he's like, "What are you doing
I thought
in my
we
house?"
learned. Yeah, I thought we learned how to communicate from the other Robins, but I guess not. I guess we've shut down again. Open up lines of communication, Batman. Tell your son when things are happening. You have comms links for a reason.
Like, this isn't even like a, I don't want to tell my child. This is a, I gotta tell my literal partner in crime.
Yeah.
That someone has come to our lair.
Yeah, and this fight has nothing to do with Leo or Raph. They weren't there. It was Mikey, Don, and Casey. In the movie, it's a very cute moment. It's very funny. And it's all the turtles, and we have a typical like, oh, you might want to put that knife down, or oh, you're cute. And then Damien growls and then tries to like literally remove their spleens. And then for Mikey, Donnie, and Casey, they basically get their ass handed to them by a child. I mean, they were on the couch in the Batcave playing the laser pony racing game instead of doing anything productive. So they deserve to get a little bit of an ass kicking.
Yeah.
It's fine.
And then Batman carries in Leo.
Yeah, and then that stops all the fighting because, well, it has to. And then finally, Damien is aware of the situation and also relays what he has learned of his grandfather's overall plans.
Yeah, which is Arkham.
Now, Casey thinks that this isn't the Turtles' problem. The Turtles' problem is they need to get back to their universe. And he warns them that they have to leave right now. Whereas Leo, even in his incapacitated state...
they don't have to leave right now, but he is like, I have a thing that will generate an emergency portal at a certain time. And that's our backup. That we don't have our regular plan. We don't have the portal. I can't go back through that one. For obvious reasons.
Yeah, they aren't aware that Shredder's make more portals.
Yeah.
They only know
the one
Casey has.
Yeah, that he destroyed. I think he's destroyed 2 at this point. Anyway, Casey's like, I have a handheld one, and it will go off at a certain time. We cannot stop. That's what it will do, and you have to come home then, or you will die here.
Whereas the plan in Arkham has already kicked off, and the mutant gene that was stolen from Casey has already been used on the asylum patients, and those patients include quite a bit of Batman's serious roster of villains. Some of them were a little different from the movie.
Yes.
So
I will give everyone one guess as to who Penguin turns into.
You'll never guess.
One singular guess.
You know what? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rockhopper penguin, guys. He was a rockhopper penguin. It's all good. You'd think he would be an emperor penguin, but no.
No, first of all, they're too tall.
Too tall.
Second of all, they don't have the dapper eyebrows. And,
They did go hard on those eyebrows.
yeah.
I remember that panel. They basically drew just a penguin in a suit. It's really good. Someone loves animal anatomy.
Then you've got
I'm really against hot girl dog Harley.
oh yeah, she turns into the hyena for obvious reasons. Cause
The hyena in the movie was very cartoonish,
yeah, but it was also
but very Harley.
it was but it was also very animal shaped.
Yeah, and it was still an animal.
Yeah, whereas in the comic, instead of making
They
her
went-
face, turning her face into a proper like muzzle, and everyone else is practically full animal, like regular.
She's just a
turtle.
furry.
Yeah, yeah.
She's got like
Not
full
even a
human
good fur, 'cause
anatomy.
even furries would have more of a muzzle, and she doesn't. Really
Yeah,
have
she
one.
doesn't have anything that would make her truly noteworthy. She's just in a skin suit.
She's like a Thundercat,
Yeah,
but for hyenas.
but not cool.
Yeah.
I like Thundercats. I get that they're they're definitely a walking
No, but
fetish.
I'm saying on the scale of furry, she's Thundercat instead of like
Yeah.
turtle.
Yeah. So, and then Poison Ivy makes a premiere here, and she also makes a premiere in the movie, but the two distinctions are, in the comic book, she's a praying mantis, which says some stuff about her. And in the movie, she's a full-on plant who's taken roots, and, like, it's kind of a funny moment, because she thinks she can attack somebody, but she can't move. Then we have Bane, who's different. Bane, who we realized at the time he had some kind of like fully furred teddy bear of a jaguar. He got turned into a jaguar.
Yeah, he
in
had
the
on
movie.
his back like a jaguar backpack type deal.
Yeah, which is really cute, but
So I was
also like
that could-
hardcore.
Yeah, I was like, that could be made of
Yeah, made a jaguar pelt.
jaguar fur. That's plausible. Whereas in the comic, he's an elephant man.
He's an elephant, which is too much.
Where is he getting elephant man?
I mean, I'm sure it's not super hard to get elephant, but at the same time, because, ivory's a thing.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
just
I
all
forgot
like,
ivory was a thing.
why elephant?
Arkham
Bane,
is technically an
'cause
old
he's
house,
huge.
so it could, yeah. Like,
He could also have been a gorilla. He could have been anything with muscles.
yeah. And then,
Jaguar just makes sense because he's South American in my head.
Jaguar is the one where I'm like, you just did that because South. Whereas, like, I think it'd be more.
I think it's cooler. Jaguars are really cool,
cooler, but
and they're
it's
not
more,
used.
It's more plausible for him to get a hold of ivory than it is jaguar fur.
I mean, if you want to say that, but he had the teddy bear, and I'm going to claim that that's his teddy bear, and he's had it since his prison baby times.
Yeah, and then you've got.
The guy grew up in prison.
I keep wanting to say Killer Frost, but that's a Flash villain.
No, that's someone else entirely.
That's a Flash villain. And then she's a girl. And I'm so like, that's the wrong one
She's
entirely.
a really cool girl with no sad. Well, I think she still has a sad backstory, but it's definitely not trying to save her significant other and going insane. So yeah, she's talking about Dr. Freeze
Yes,
or
thank
Mr.
you.
Freeze.
Thank you. Dr. Freeze, who is... like, Dr. Freeze, polar bear, makes sense.
Yeah, he's still a polar bear. Nothing's changed about this.
Yeah.
He's a polar bear in the comic. He's a polar bear in the movie.
But getting the
He
whole...
gets more showtime,
Yeah.
though.
Since he has to be kept in such cold temperatures, it would make sense that they put... It doesn't make sense that you would put...
How do you get any
Polar
polar bear
bear in
parts if the mutagen still works like traditional mutagen? I
Yeah.
don't know. Then for Two-Face, he's got changed too. In the comic book, he's a baboon.
He's just a baboon with, like, white on one side.
Just
Dark on the
two
other.
different, like, melanistic patterns on his...
Which is boring
Body.
and, like, no one thought about that.
Yeah. In the movie, they got really creative. He's a cat, but he's like a furred and
Like one's
hairless.
like a sphinx cat head on one, and then the other one's a regular furred one.
It's like literally two people in one body.
Like the heads just melded onto one another, like
Yeah. think not funny version of that one two-headed dragon from that movie no one remembers. Does anyone remember that movie? It had like he kind of had like a really round body, but then there was one skinny head, one fat head. Then there was this girl.
Are you talking about Quest for Camelot?
That's what it was. Nobody talks about
I
that
love
movie.
Quest for Camelot.
I know you would talk about that movie, but nobody else talks about that fucking movie.
Quest for Camelot was like one of the only movies I watched more than once as a child.
Which explains why no one else is talking about it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Anytime I really like something, it's not usually very popular.
So essentially, Batman walks in knowingly because he knows that something's tripped off in the Arkham Asylum into a giant fight.
We have to talk about the Joker having legs and not having legs.
Oh yes, so the Joker's involved too, and he also sells his venom for the mutagen or whatever. That happens in the movie, happens in the comic, but since he has venom, he gets turned into a venomous creature, therefore a snake. And but the key difference is he is a bipedal snake in the comic, whereas he is a full-on Naga, no leg situation in the movie.
Yeah. I just want to point that out because it's so funny.
Still, in both drawings, his face doesn't make any sense as a reptile. He looks like a dragon in the face.
He looks like he has like a wolf's jaws, just with the cobra.
Lots of jaw.
Yeah.
Which snakes don't necessarily, like, they unhinge their jaws. They don't need jaws. Don't do that to snakes, people. Don't give heroic chins to a snake. It won't look right. That's just a lizard. And then, of course, the turtles stay to save Batman and Damian from this horrible fight with mutated creatures. In the movie, they sort of have to fall in rank with the Batman, but that doesn't work out. Also, Scarecrow makes more of a... Scarecrow's still a crow in both versions, but he also has more of a moment to show off.
Yeah. In the movie, they split up. They already are all there together, and they split up into groups. Batgirl is there.
Oh, yes. Batgirl does not make... I think we mentioned this earlier. She is not in the comic at all. In the movie verse, she is, because this is one of the key characters that the DC Universe animated has built up. They just have to involve Barbara Gordon in some capacity. Even if she's not a part of the story at all. They gotta put her in there. She's the girl. She's the girl. And she's the girl who
and they
shows
don't
up.
want to have to re-explain Stephanie Brown every time.
They never include Stephanie Brown in animated anything. She does not exist.
Because you'd have to explain spoiler, you'd have to explain her Batgirl, you'd have to explain too much.
Yeah, so this is the surprising amount that we know about Batman.
In there?
Yeah, they don't put those guys.
Why? We can explain all the boys that we want. We can't explain any of the extra girls.
Well, they don't explain all the boys because they're not including the one black guy now.
He's new enough.
I mean, he's new, but he ain't in nothing.
He ain't anything now. But since this is far enough back, that
there's only one black guy who shows up, and that's Cyborg.
Yeah, there's no Duke. There's no Cassandra.
They stopped using what's the name from the Green Lantern Corps forever ago.
Oh yeah. Is that one John?
Yeah, he's a John too, but they stopped fucking using him.
Yeah. Why explain all these? We can explain.
I feel like it's not hard to explain.
No, I'm saying their logic. We can explain all the white boys we want, but we can't explain anyone else, so we're just not going to put them in there.
We're not using the rest of them. We got so many cool characters, and nobody's using them. Because what? Because they associate with something? Or is it because they're not this guy?
Because they're definitely going to put John in a Superman thing and probably a Batman thing, and they'll explain that.
They get mad that they have to say John and Joan in two different ways when they're talking about Martian Manhunter.
Oh yeah, you don't really see Martian Manhunter that often either. Not in non-Martian.
They don't want to get that CG budget like that. So the turtles and Splinter stay and help Bats and little Damien and Robin. And Casey returns back to the TMNT verse because, he had to. And during that one last push where he really was all like, I love you. You're my family. You can't stay here. You have to come with me.
You will die if you stay here.
And he's all like, you have to come back. April's waiting for us. And we have to go back. And even Leo in his incapacitated state is all like, we gotta fix this problem. And Casey's all like, you could just leave it here. You could just leave it here and you can come home. And he's all like, we can't leave our problems for somebody else to fix. It's not right. So that was another moment where Casey tried to appeal to them.
Personally, if I were the other turtles, I'd have been like, okay, fine. Leo's already injured as heck, right? Just throw him at Casey, let it go off. Leo's gone, but we can solve the rest of the problem. Mm-hmm. This is what happens when you let Leo be in charge.
Well, also, like, Splinter, Splinter trusts his children's judgment.
Splinter's also just like, well, if we're all stuck here, we're all going to die. We have to die together. We can't let one be alone.
Yeah. Well, in general, he just, he trusts in the judgment of Leonardo. And he knows that, ultimately, they'd feel responsible if they did nothing. So they fight as a team, and they don't split up like in the movie. There is no splitting up.
I mean, they were technically already split up. The bats went one way.
Yes.
The turtles went another.
In the case of the team up, they were split up.
Yeah.
But they didn't split up as in, like,
that's because the big fight is already happening when they get there.
Yeah, the fight's sort of happening, and they get into it. Shredder and the Batman finally have that epic battle. Only, instead of mysticism, Batman brought a mech suit. Mm-hmm. Which, I don't know if that's cheating, but you know what? I'll allow it. Because it was a cool mech suit.
It's got little symbols of all his different kids on it.
It's got double meaning. It's got the different kids and also color-coded under the turtles, and the feet of the mech look like the turtles' feet. Mm-hmm. I don't know how he had time to do that.
He already had it. There was like earlier.
You saw it?
Alfred was like, hey, do you want to bring the Interceptor suit? And he was like, it's not finished and we're just fighting ninjas. We can handle ninjas. Oh, he finished it.
Okay. I hope Donnie helped him. I mean, that's not a moment that exists, but it's headcanon now.
It finished it, but he was like, I haven't had time to perfect it. And it's like, I'm not going to bring it out now because it's not perfect. Because we're just fighting ninjas. Because that was their intel. And it's like, we can handle ninjas. We fought ninjas.
Splinter gets to show off a bit, being the master that he is. I mean, it was noted in the movie that he mastered a technique that nearly killed Shredder to use to get the bats off of him. So it's no surprise that Splinter can kick ass. It's just like he's getting older. Be kind to the old man. So they end up saving them, and they manage to get so April and the scientists left behind manages to get a portal going, and they have a really touching moment after incapacitating the Shredder, the remaining Foot Clan, the League. There was a cool fight between Ra's al Ghul that still happened, but it happened with all the turtles instead of one-on-one with Leo. I think they were both really good moments. For Leo, it was showing like, I'm still capable and I'm only 16. What's your excuse, old man? And then for the turtle fights, it shows like their collaboration and how even though Batman once again sent children to do a man's job, the children kicked your ass, right? They kicked your ass. And they turtle slammed him, which is the cool move that they do in fighting games where they come together and like hit you with their shell all at once. I personally be all like, that would hurt. I don't know how much, because I would immediately suck in my gut and hope that my boobs still survive afterwards, but it's gotta hurt.
Depends on
They're all domed shells, so when they hit, it's gonna be
depends.
Yeah.
Yeah, Race escapes and then a portal opens in the
Yeah.
comic. And out steps April and Casey, who were like, we couldn't let you idiots die here.
Yeah. And April's all like, and get your asses in this portal. I've been working for like ever over here. Oh, and Casey's all like, oh man, I missed the fight. Damn, I thought we would have made it in time. Um, I think there's some kind of time dilation between the universes. Because
That would make sense as to why it's hard to get a lock on,
yeah,
hard to keep a lock on the universe.
it also explains what's gonna happen in the next volumes. But to continue, they do like handcuff Shredder. They get it all together, and they have a touching moment. Also, like Raph reminds Batman, you should be like actual family with your kid, and that you're a good person, and I see now what you're doing, and I acknowledge you as a fellow like master or ninja master
It's
or
okay.
comrade or
I
hero.
thought you were just a spoiled white boy with no family, and now it's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
you're a family man, and you're fighting the good fight. So I guess you can like.
Which another bingo card when the turtles acknowledge you on their level. Sometimes they might give you a bandana. They'll give you their bandana.
Yeah, Raph is like, here, have my bandana, and remember that like you always have family. When you come here, you're family.
Yeah, which is a Raph move. Like if Raph is cool with you, you're pretty much family
Yeah.
after that. Um, even if you're not great family. Well, but but yeah, this leads to a touching moment between Batman and Robin at the end, and the turtles go home. Mikey gets in a hug, something he does in the movie as well. There's not a lot of pizza moments. The turtles are seen eating pizza occasionally, but the pizza moments, and this happens in the media all the time, the pizza moments in the movie is continual. We go from scene to scene, every scene in between, there's a pizza moment.
Look, you got to keep up your calories.
And it's not even like they're trying to do product placement, because they don't try to do that. It's random ass pizza. But I wish I kind of wish they had drawn like a product just to explain how many times. But no, they just in the movie verse, it's just established that since the '80s cartoon, they have to have a pizza moment. It's not about product placement. They're not trying to get people to eat like Domino's or Pizza Hut. We can't have the turtles eat anything else but pizza when they're animated. And then that's the end. There's different covers that they used for all the issues of the comics that individually came out. They're pretty nice. They usually come with either the line art or the pre-drawing before the finished rendered complete drawing. They have a lot of different aesthetics. Some of them very heavy on Batman, and some of them homages to the Turtles. There's even like little comic panelings.
At the end, when the credits are rolling in the movie.
Oh, in the movie, yes. Oh, because in the movie, in the big fight, Shredder fell into a vat.
Oh, yeah, it turned into Shredder Joker.
Yeah. That did not happen in the comic.
No. He just got his butt beat and then sent back to.
I mean, the plan was different too, because the plan in the movie was to seed the Gotham with a version of the Joker-fied Venom and turn everybody into mutants to be controlled.
A berserker, not to be controlled.
Well, to kill, like to destroy the city, essentially.
Yeah, because Race wants to destroy the city. Race
and build it up in his own
should
image.
Be destroyed and then built up in his own image because he's crazy. But
in the comic, there's more of an Acidious plan of just having a superpower in the darkness to take over.
And in the credits, they do it. They do comic cover with DC comic covers with the turtles in them instead.
Oh, yes, that was a cute moment in the
Yes,
movie.
because
They changed all the comic
yes,
covers to
like
feature the
yes, to be
turtles.
what would happen if the turtles
Had always
did
been a
live
part.
in the DC universe, and now that they've been introduced to Batman, are now going to be part of. It was really cute.
Yeah, it's very cute. We did notice it, and I don't think I ever watched the credits before for the movie. I've watched it like 3, now 4 times, and I was like, did I never watch the credits? It could be the only available on the Blu-ray,
I like watching credits.
but
I let credits play
yeah.
for things, even if like if I'm in a video game, it takes like an hour.
I'm the first one to just cut off credits. I only stay for credits when I'm watching a movie theater movie because I already paid like $40 to be here. Of course, I'm gonna wait until the last
Yeah, I might not
second.
be paying attention to the credits, but out of respect, I will let the credits roll.
But then again, sometimes when they do DVDs or Blu-rays or whatever, they'll add stuff. So I had seen the other 3 on DVD, and it's the first time I watched a Blu-ray version.
I
So it
think
could be just Blu-ray.
if we didn't watch the other one on Blu-ray, then when I watched it the first time, then I think maybe it did have it.
I might not have noticed at all then.
Yeah, you don't pay attention to credits. Yeah,
No, I'm
I do
just all
credits.
like, other than just hearing any kind of song, if I like the initial, like, there's always a turtle rap at the end. I don't believe there was one for this. I think it was like straight up DC homage orchestra to Batman. But, but there's always like usually a turtle rap. And if it's a good turtle rap, then I listen.
Also, credit music is usually very soothing.
Because I don't know how many times we gotta mention this, people, but the turtles represent a minority.
Yeah,
And there's always going to be a turtle rap
yeah,
till the end of time
yeah,
because they're a minority, folks.
yeah.
And they correlate closely to not only youth culture, but also black culture, as well as Asian culture.
Yeah.
They're just little blazons.
They just be out there being like, I'm green, but when you know, you know.
It was really, really fun, and I love this volume. It's always fun to read because I often forget whatever I read, but when I go back, it's always a trip. And I love looking at the artwork. I love the dynamics. Would I say this is my favorite collaboration? No. When we get in the future, my favorite collaboration is going to be coming up. But this is one of my favorite arc stories, especially involving Batman. It's been so long since I consumed media that had to do a lot with him. We know a lot, but I don't think I've consumed
Yeah,
anything
the three
with
arc
Batman for a
yeah
while.
the 3 different arcs of the Batman and Turtles in this one has got like really interesting like philosophical stuff.
They go through a lot. They fit a lot of
I
stuff.
mean, less that the story's philosophical and more that my brain was like, if this, then that kind of philosophical while reading it.
There's some interesting things that keep happening,
Yeah.
and and as we go along, the relationship between them like gets deeper.
Yeah. What's that stupid sunny Philadelphia? The implications.
Yeah, the implications. There's so many implications, guys. And we'll get to that in the future. I don't know if this will be our last video for the year, but don't worry, we will finish this whole series. This is just volume 1. We have
Unless
2 more
somebody
volumes.
dies, we'll finish it.
Nobody's gonna die.
Okay.
But don't nobody die. I'm warning you.
It's been
But
on average a person has gone a month.
no,
so-
no real life details. We are fine and we will live forever because we are witches and we have magic. So see you guys soon, and hopefully if the winter's not too bad and we're not all stuck in our abodes, we will get the next 2 volumes out before the end of the year. But if not,
Oh,
then it'll be
hey.
the first thing next year.